I'm Netta Tawfik in New York, and this is BBC World News America. On day 2 of the Queen's Platinum Jubilee, royals joined dignitaries in a national service of thanksgiving to celebrate Britain's longest-serving monarch.
And I'm Katty outside Buckingham Palace, where preparations are taking place for a big party tomorrow night.
100 days into Russia's invasion of Ukraine, more evacuations and separations as fighting intensifies in the south of the country. And a new opera debuts this weekend in the U.S. It's based on a pandemic from a different era. Welcome to World News America on PBS and around the globe. We begin tonight in the UK, where day 2 of the Platinum Jubilee celebrations are underway. The main event has been a service of thanksgiving at St. Paul's Cathedral to honor the Queen's 70 years on the throne. Members of the royal family, dignitaries, and 400 invited key workers and volunteers were in attendance, but the Queen herself was notably absent. The BBC's Katty is in London for us tonight outside Buckingham Palace and has been watching the festivities. And Katty, the Queen watched the service from Windsor Castle, and it was a really marked difference to yesterday when she was able to join in on the celebrations.
Yes, the palace said sadly that the Queen suffered some discomfort after appearing on the balcony outside Buckingham Palace yesterday, and they felt it was just too complicated, too tiring for the 96-year-old monarch to make the journey from Windsor Castle to the centre of London and attend that service in St. Paul's Cathedral. I should say, Netta, I'm outside Buckingham Palace where there are preparations going on. They're doing rehearsals for a big party tomorrow night. But there have been no official events here at Buckingham Palace today. Even though there have been crowds, there still are a few people out on the Mall. All of the focus of attention was over at St. Paul's Cathedral, where Prince Charles stood in for Her Majesty the Queen. Our royal correspondent Nicholas Witchell has that report. The British royals are followed by people all over the world, and someone who keeps a close eye on them is American-British author Tina Brown. Her latest best-selling book, The Palace Papers, consists of over 120 interviews with people who are close to the royals, who know the royals, who have studied the royals. I went to meet her in New York, and I asked her what it was that made the Queen so special to the British public.
You know, Katty, especially watching here from America, where there is no nonpartisan, national unifying figure, you get a real sense of just how respected the Queen is. I mean, how did the event at St. Paul's today really focus on that ability of hers to unify communities?
Yeah, there was a lot of talk about her service and her duty. Remember the Queen at the age of 21, when she went to South Africa and gave a radio broadcast on her 21st birthday, said that she was committing her life to the service of the people of her kingdom, and back then it was the empire as well. And that service in her mind has been that unifying factor, which rests on this idea of her being non-partisan, of us not knowing what she thinks. And one person I spoke to said that that is what is unifying. You can project onto the Queen anything you like. She's listening to a concert and she has a blank expression. She may be loving it or she may be hating it. And you can kind of make her what you want. And that has been, in a sense, her power. Tina Brown talked about her soft power. In a way, it's her silent power. She's very managed. We don't hear her very much in public. But when she speaks, it has resonance and it has an impact. And I think the unifying impact comes from the fact that we don't always know what she's thinking. And in this world where everybody shares and overshares, that's pretty rare, isn't it?
Yeah, certainly. And Katty, just briefly, what can we expect for the rest of the weekend?
So tomorrow there is a big horse race, the Epsom Derby, that the Queen had hoped to attend. She won't be attending again. She's feeling too frail and tired for it. There's a big party tomorrow night at Buckingham Palace, which they're preparing for right now. Lots of rock stars will be performing. And then on Sunday, the whole of England goes and has a big party outside. Street parties with lunch and buntings and beer and wine and everybody having fun. If, Netta, the weather holds up, which may be a little bit iffy for Her Majesty on Sunday.
Well, I'm certainly jealous, Katty, that I'm not there with you, but I am hoping that you have good weather. Thanks so much. Now to Ukraine, where on the 100th day of Russia's invasion, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has vowed victory. He said his people had done the impossible by holding Russia off. Now, currently, Moscow's forces are in control of 20% of Ukraine's territory, and fighting is intensifying in the south of Ukraine, where the BBC's Laura Bicker reports from the key port city of Mykolaiv. Turning to Germany now, at least 4 people have died and about 30 others have been injured after a train derailed in Bavaria in the southeast of the country. The train, which was carrying many students returning home for the long weekend, was headed for Munich when 3 of its carriages came off the tracks. The BBC's Jenny Hill has more for us from Berlin. Jenny Hill for us there. Now, since the start of the year, there have been dozens of suicides within the Kenyan police force, with at least 1 case per month. Officials say they've determined nearly 2,000 police officers in Kenya are unfit to serve due to issues with their mental health. Well, new measures are now being implemented to help tackle this issue. The BBC's Joyce Atutu reports, and a warning, some viewers may find this report distressing. Let's take a look now at some other news. The Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett has said his country will take action to stop Iran's nuclear program if it becomes necessary. Speaking at a meeting with the head of the International Atomic Energy Agency, Mr. Bennett stressed that Israel had the right to use self-defense measures if the international community failed. Peter Navarro, a former trade advisor to President Trump, has been indicted on 2 counts of contempt of Congress for failing to cooperate with a House of Representatives investigation into the Capitol riot on January 6, 2020. Mr. Navarro has been charged by a federal grand jury for refusing to appear for a deposition and also failing to produce documents. Now, in the U.S. this weekend, a new opera inspired by a medical experiment is having its world premiere. It follows the story of the celebrated British neurologist Dr. Oliver Sacks, who brought patients in a New York hospital back to consciousness after they'd been in a comatose state for 4 decades, afflicted by the so-called sleeping sickness of the 1920s. The BBC's Tom Brooke went to check it out. And a reminder of our top story. On the second day of the Platinum Jubilee, a service of thanksgiving was held in London, in which the Queen was praised for staying the course during her historic 70-year reign. The monarch, who was not in attendance, watched the service on television and was represented at St. Paul's Cathedral by her son, Prince Charles. Jubilee celebrations will continue in the UK throughout the weekend. I'm Tawfik. Thank you so much for watching World News America. Have a lovely weekend.
Hello there. There's been some hot and sunny weather through much of the Mediterranean in the last few days.